Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Guardians show, part of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show family. Coming up, that's continues to be a struggle for the Guardians, who have dropped 5 of their last 6 after a wild win to start the series in the Bronx. Plus, Zach, we haven't even talked about this off the air, but we got to break down what you ate in New York. Did you have good food, great food? Disappointing food? What would you say so far before we get into
I'm not sure what's going to be more disappointing to you. You watching the Guardians the last week, or what I tell you about my New York trip?
Oh boy, this is disturbing already. We'll get to all of it right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardians show. I feel like we have to jump in the food right away. I mean, there's a lot to talk about baseball-wise, and we'll get to all of it, but you look forlorn right now. I mean, what happened?
I mean, you were in my head all week, and this is just – I have nothing to report. Here's how the trip went.
Yeah, okay.
Tuesday going out there, I had a canceled flight. Then I had a flight delayed by 4 hours, and I ended up going straight from LaGuardia to Yankee Stadium for the game, and then got back to my hotel at 2 a.m, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I was expecting to get to my hotel at 7:30 in the morning, and it was almost 24 hours later.
Oh, so my gosh.
That day was a waste.
Yeah.
Day 2, my best friend lives in New York and just had a baby. So it was spent mostly at their place, and just reeling from the night before. Covering that game was
wild.
Was a lot, and then writing afterwards. So, and then a day game, and after the game, I went to the airport. So
did you even get pizza at all?
I didn't even get anything. I don't think I ate a meal outside of Yankee Stadium.
Oh, and I know Yankee Stadium has good food for a baseball stadium, but
it's the best. But I could have been anywhere. The only evidence I had of being in New York was it taking, I don't know, 40 minutes to go 3 miles in an Uber yesterday. I mean, that's otherwise like it. And that's the disappointing thing. That's when you lose like your dose of reality, where you get so caught up in a baseball season and it doesn't matter where you are, you don't know what day of the week it is. And like, I hate getting to that point.
Yeah.
I always try to make such an effort to like get outside and do something in the city, go see something, go for a walk somewhere. Especially in New York. It was and I could have been anywhere.
That's too bad. It was not your fault, so I can't blame you for this, but that is disappointing. And only 4 road cities left the rest of the year, which is crazy because we got 5.5 weeks left in the season. But they have that one long road trip where they go Kansas City, LA, and
Chicago,
right? And then a series in St. Louis late. That's it.
They've got 35 games left. 23 at home, 12 on the road. So like that's they've been about a 500 team on the road. They've been really good at home. So if you're looking for maybe some encouraging sign, that could be one.
Obviously, this road trip was a disaster. We already talked about what happened last weekend in Milwaukee. You hope for a bounce back in the Bronx. It was better because you at least won one game. You referenced that already with the extra innings. But obviously, the last 2 days were terrible. You had a great tweet, which of course I forgot to bring up. I'm sure you know what it is, but where you talked about the one inning they scored a ton of runs. Do you have that handy, or should I retweeted it? So
they had 57 turns at bat on that road trip. They went 1-5. One inning went 12 games. The others went 9. So you had 57 innings where you batted, and in 50 of them you didn't score.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
I was just going to say that, that opener in New York kind of skews, because I was looking at like how to best frame this. And I was thinking, man, it feels like they scored 14 runs on the road trip, but that doesn't even tell the full story, because 6 of those came 4 hours into a game.
Yeah.
After they had left so many runners on base.
Yeah.
And it was weird because that's the only game where they got guys on base. I mean, Stephen Kwan had a leadoff single yesterday. Otherwise, they get no hit. And there was a lot of that. There was just like so little even threat And I just watching that series, I felt like it was 2022 again,
Yes.
where one team always has the looming threat of a home run, even if it's not Judge and Soto. Like Stanton, Stanton was the guy in Game 5 in 22 who hit the big home run off Savali that basically put that series away.
Yep.
And and then the other team, like, especially when your stars aren't playing like stars, or your all-stars aren't playing like all-stars, how are they going to score? Like trying to string together, like they're lucky that Luis Gil and Garrett Cole didn't have great command and they walked a bunch of guys. That was like the one way they could get guys on base. But it just feels like such a daunting task for them to cobble together enough hits, walks, whatever, to score one run.
The Tuesday game, as you talked about, was crazy. Heading into the last inning where they scored the 6 and they got some breaks on some balls that dropped in. Like they had 11 walks, I think, before that inning, and only one had scored. I mean, that's like a statistical impossibility. It feels like every single player on this team is stressed out when they get to the plate in the big spot. And nobody looks comfortable. And early in the season, we talked about this on Monday. The team came through in the clutch every time. And they've gone from one extreme to the next. I don't know what their numbers are since the start of July with runners in scoring position, but it's got to be amongst the worst, if not the worst. And for the first couple of months, they were great. They were consistently clutch. And we all knew it had to cool. We always knew that they couldn't play as well offensively as they did in the beginning of the year. But I don't think any of us thought it would go from 10 to 0.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happened. You thought maybe they'd level off and they wouldn't be quite as good, but they are completely of late looking like, as you said, the 22 team, which was completely inept offensively. And it's the first time all year you feel like, all year we both felt like this could be a World Series team. This could be a World Series team. And I still think it's not impossible, even as poorly as they're playing right now. But it's the first time all year I'm really starting to lose confidence in the team as a whole. With now Cobb back on IL, the two guys they traded for have both been basically useless outside of one Cobb start. And all the clear holes that we were worried about in the beginning of the season in the lineup have reared their ugly head. And even guys you thought would be, Steven Kwan's batting average just dropped 80 points. 2 months ago, we're talking about, can he hit 400? Now I'm worried he's not going to hit 300.
Yeah. I mean, there's no one free of blame.
No.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
The team's best hitters are all struggling at the same time.
Right.
And the team's not so great hitters, have you seen who's developed?
Nobody.
Like, who is better now than they were a few months ago?
Nobody.
Giancarlo Noel, maybe?
But is he he just swings at everything.
I don't know if it's sustainable.
Yeah, yes, if you make a mistake to him, he's going to crush the ball. But I don't think that's changed from the beginning of the year. And I think if I'm a pitcher, why would you ever throw him a strike?
No, but I think he represents sort of what the epitome of the team struggles. He's the only person who I'm like, you know what? You've done your job.
Yes,
nobody else really has.
I agree.
And you bring up a good point, because why would anyone ever throw him a strike? He's just going to chase everything.
Yeah.
But he's earned that. Pitchers have come into the strike zone to him, and he's hit them out. And it's the chase rate. If it doesn't get better, like, this is unsustainable. And, we've seen this story before with like Franmil Reyes.
Yeah.
But that's the whole, if you listen to what this team says after every series, it's either like, why are you guys going to win the World Series? Or why are you guys just completely inept? It is one extreme or the other. But the one theme that I've picked up on is, and I haven't done all the research to find out if it's true, but just feels like, especially Stephen Vogt just saying, you know, these pitchers attacked us with a lot of off-speed stuff. Just spin, spin, spin. And he said yesterday, like, no one's throwing us fastballs down the middle anymore. Well, no pitcher wants to throw fastballs down the middle ever.
Right.
They have to when they fall behind in the count.
Yeah.
And the Guardians are not earning those fastballs.
No.
Why would anybody throw Stephen Kwan now that he's proven he can hit for power? And if you look at his home runs this year, almost all of them are on fastballs inside, even off the plate.
Yeah.
And he says it's because he's got short arms, he can turn on it, and he knows he can do damage. Why would you ever throw him that pitch then?
Right.
He's got such a good eye. Why are you throwing him the thing he can damage? If he gets a single, he gets a single. But you're seeing, and he feels like he hasn't been pitched differently, but I think that also could just be him not wanting to act like this slump is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's been getting a ton of off-speed stuff away, and you're seeing a lot of pop-ups. You're seeing a lot of grounders to shortstop. And he's not the only one. I think that's just, Josh Naylor has not had any consistency.
Nope.
You're seeing it with just up and down the lineup. It's guys are getting off-speed stuff because why would you throw them a fastball? And the one game where they really earned it was Tuesday when they walked 14 times. First time they've done that in 45 years. And I think they felt like even though they stranded 20 runners, and another stat for you, only 4 times in the history of the franchise have they ever stranded more runners than that. So
wow,
it's incredible that they won that game and necessary that they won that game. But that was a game where they had opportunities. They could get fastballs because they were ahead in the count. Yeah. They were patient. But that's been the anomaly over the last month or so. Like, they aren't getting pitches that they can do damage on because they don't do anything with the other pitches. You either have to spoil them, you have to be patient and let them go.
Right.
I mean, I've for years this team could not hit changeups. Anytime they faced Lucas Giolito, he'd go 8 innings, give up 1 run. And I remember, I think it was Ty Van Berkeley's last year. And I finally said to him in the clubhouse after game, I was like, what? Does it feel like this has been a thing for 5 years where you guys face a guy with a good fastball changeup combination? And it ended with a pretty heated back and forth. But I feel like it's back to that, where it's the formula is simple. The book's out on these guys where it's just throw them off speed stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't throw them fastballs, you get quick outs.
Guardians get very uptight about criticism. Very uptight. I'm sure they send you, they laud you when you write articles, positive articles about the team. Sure, they send you, thank you and, are appreciative. But man, you give them any criticism, they're a little uptight. It's not just the hitting either. Cobb on the IL, Cantillo was terrible. Gavin Williams, after we lauded him a few weeks ago for that great start, has now had 2 terrible starts in a row. Bybee's pitched well, Lively bounced back, but the strength of the team, the bullpen, if you can't score any runs, then it's useless. The guys have gotten some rest. I guess that's the positive here, but
yeah, I mean, if you think about late in the season, playoffs, whatever, you can compensate for a weaker rotation with your bullpen,
right?
But you can't hide from an offense that can't do anything.
Nope. No, and right now, and the question is now, was the first half of the year a complete anomaly, and are they going to just be miserable the rest of the year offensively? Because if that's the case, they might not even make the playoffs. If they do, they're going to lose. Or will they at least find a middle ground the final 5 weeks of the season, halfway between the dreck that they are now and the great that they were earlier? Because if they find a middle ground at least, okay, then you got a chance. But so we spent a lot of time talking about pitching heading into the trade deadline, and when at the trade deadline, we didn't love what the Guardians did. We didn't think they did enough, but we didn't kill them because at least they did something. But in reality, it's very clear they didn't do enough. They haven't done enough in nearly a decade at the trade deadline. And it's becoming an issue. We consistently laud the front office. We give them a lot of credit, and they have done a lot of good things. And the team with a low payroll has consistently been in the mix. And the front office obviously deserves their share of credit. But how many offensive prospects have they had in recent years that are highly touted that have done little or nothing in the majors? And how many times have they failed? And this is obviously part, the ownership is to blame on this. They don't spend money. They don't ever go all in, or they haven't in almost a decade. We talked about so many times how there was so many opportunities, that this was a good year. The Orioles aren't, have their flaws. The Yankees have their flaws, and they still do. But right now, the Guardians' flaws seem much more glaring than the other teams. And I think the front office has got to get more blame, at least for me. I'm going to blame them more than I have in the past, because it's not good enough. I'm going to start, every time we hear about a good prospect with the Guardians, I'm going to stop believing it, because none of the guys, Arias was supposed to be great. He's been terrible when we've seen him. And again, none of these guys have enough plate appearances to completely write them off. But so far, Arias has been terrible. Freeman's been terrible. The little bit we saw of Manzardo wasn't any good. The other top prospects, they refused to call up. What are they going to do? They're trying to win a championship in the International League? I don't understand. So there needs to be more.
Would you go to that parade?
Would I go?
Yeah.
Not a chance.
Okay. Parade down High Street?
No, I'm out. I'm out for the Columbus champion. I don't even know if what's their record. Do you know?
I don't think it's.
Yeah, who cares?
I don't think they're in contention for that.
So I'm sick of just saying good job with a low payroll. There needs to be higher expectations than that. That's crap.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of when people will put, here's the Yankees record, here's the Guardians record, and it's similar, and look at the payrolls. So, hang the banner. The
goal is not to be the most efficient team; it's to be the best.
Correct.
Team. Yeah.
So that isn't one of your typical great Yankees teams ever, or either, because that lineup outside of Judge and Soto is not good.
No, nobody's doing well in the rest of the lineup.
And I think that's what makes this more frustrating. Is we've said this since April. The American League is so wide open.
Yeah.
The Orioles, they have so much talent, and they can't quite figure it out either. Guardians are tied with them in the standings. So this is a year where you can do it, but they've sort of hamstrung themselves. Their best players have all faltered at the same time. They haven't made moves. I mean, that's what I can't wrap my head around is people are going to think that I think Kyle Manzardo and George Valera are the next DiMaggio and Ruth, and that's couldn't be further from the truth. But how do you just watch the same thing over and over and think that it's just going to magically start working? I mean, they've faced a right-handed starter 11 of their last 13 games. You don't think you could have used another left-handed bat in there instead of watching David Fry or Lane Thomas or Tyler Freeman or Daniel Schneemann try to hack it against a good starter? It boggles my mind. I think you're going to see one of those guys on September 1st, but unless something changes, and it could, I mean, again, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But the tentative plan was to just wait till September 1st, and then you'd have a platoon of, Manzardo and Fry. I don't know why you wait that long, but that's where we're at.
Yeah. It's depressing because it's been overall a fun baseball season, but the team, you lose your momentum here. A lot of the casual fans that have jumped in with their interest, they've moved on now. They're going over there. Browns preseason ends tomorrow. This regular season starts in 14 days or 16 days. You're losing the casual fans right now because you're playing like a bum team, frankly. They just look awful. And they were so much fun to watch. And we had no expectations. We couldn't understand how they were doing it in the beginning of the year. And we all just jumped in and bought in. And maybe we should have known it would go downhill to some degree, but not to this point.
That's the key.
Yeah.
it wouldn't have taken a ton to just tread water, but
Yeah.
they haven't even been doing that.
Yeah.
And you see glimpses. I mean, they swept the Cubs a week and a half
Yeah.
ago.
Right.
Like, it's not like there is talent. There's potential there. I think that's the thing is no one expected them to win 107 games
No.
or whatever they were on pace for halfway through the season. But can you just play 500 ball the rest of the way? The way that the Yankees and the Orioles and all these teams have just been treading water for the last couple months, couldn't
Yeah.
you? Shouldn't you be atop the standings given the start you had? And also, you had to know that you were going to have some pitfalls. You had to know that Kwan wasn't going to hit 400, that Fry wasn't going to have an 1100 OPS.
Yeah.
But they haven't been reactive when things have gone awry. There haven't been moves. They added Lane Thomas, and to their credit, they've limited his playing time. Like, they've turned him into a platoon player.
Yeah.
But there's nobody else to pick up the slack. That's the problem.
Right. It's not like the other half of the platoon is excellent.
Right.
And that's been the thing. Like, I think about a kid when I was a teenager, and I think about the first thing I think of when I think of platoons, I think about the '86 Mets, which was a really great team, and obviously they won the World Series. And they had two platoons. At second base, they platooned Wally Backman and Tim Tuffle, and in center field, they platooned Mookie Wilson and Lenny Dykstra. And it was a great platoon. None of those four guys on their own were superstars, but they were all really good. And it's like the Guardians platoons over the last few years mostly seem like platoons of scrubs. It's like, okay, we got this scrub and that, and that's a little harsh. I don't mean to be mean. These guys are professional baseball players. They're way better than I am, but it's a platoon of well, this guy's, these guys both stink, but this guy's a little better against lefties and a little, and it's like there's no juice from any of these platoon situations at all.
You don't want to do you don't want to be cornered into a platoon.
Right. Yeah.
Like, when there were times when, whether it was Rayburn or Brandon Guyer, like when it was Chisenhall and Brandon Guyer for the second half of 2016, those guys combined, and it's an all-star. Like, Chisenhall was really good against righties, and Guyer was elite against lefties.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. You don't want it to be like, well, this guy definitely can't hit lefties, so we hope he can hit righties.
Yeah.
And this guy bats the other way, so let's just throw them together and see what happens. I don't know. It's funny you're railing against, like, you won't believe in another prospect until you see it. And their farm system on the position player side is loaded. And it's like, I'm with you. We haven't seen guys come up and excel. And Travis Pizzana, with being the first overall pick, I would believe in that guy. Jason Chorio, we've seen his brother take off. Like, I want to believe in that guy. Kyle Manzardo had the prospect pedigree. I want to believe in that guy. But how long is it going to take?
Yeah.
Are they under the right tutelage? And by the time all those guys get up here and they're excelling, how old is Jose Ramirez?
That's right.
Is Stephen Kwan on the roster? Like, you need help now.
Yeah.
And they've done nothing.
Well, let's do this. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get to the fan questions. But also, I just brought up really quick. I didn't prepare for this, but we were talking about it. I just brought up the Guardians' top 30 prospect list at the start of the 2021 season, so 3 years ago. We'll see how those guys have done. Quick break, though. Let me talk to you folks about Game Time, the Game Time app. If you're going to the Guardians, if you're looking for NFL tickets or college football, make sure you use the Game Time app. I know I'm going to be doing it. I'm taking my son to go see the Bengals and the Commanders on Monday Night Football in late September. And we're going to wait till a couple days before, and I'm going to use the Game Time app. It's can't be topped. Great deals, great ability to save money the longer you wait. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. I'm going to do it. You should too. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right. So here we go, Zach. Guardians top 30 prospects going into the 2021 season. Number 1, Tyler Freeman. So far, he's been a bust. Again, not enough plate appearances, but he's been a bust. Number 2, George Valera. We still haven't seen him yet.
He's been really good against righties. Cannot hit lefties.
Yeah. Number 3, Nolan
there you go.
Jones.
Get your platoon ready.
Yeah, right. Number 3, Nolan Jones. With the Rockies, he had a really good season last year. Has fallen on his face this year. I'm just going to do the hitters. I'll leave the pitchers out because we know they don't have a problem developing pitchers. Number 4, Gabriel Arias. Been a total bust so far. Number 6, Bo Naylor. Nice end to last season. Obviously good defensively. He hasn't hit all year. 7, Rocchio. We know. 8, Angel Martinez. 12, Jose Tena. 14, Richie Palacios. He was actually having a real nice season for Tampa Bay before he got hurt. 15, Aaron Bracho. I don't even know him.
Yeah, I think he's. I can't remember if he's at Akron or Columbus. He had some really good seasons in the low levels and then just fizzled.
Right. He was in Akron in 2021. So 16, Carson Tucker.
He is no longer in professional baseball.
Nice.
First round pick in 2020.
There you go. Oh, man. 18, Petey Halpin.
He's in Akron, center fielder.
24, Gabriel Rodriguez.
I think they released him.
And 25, John Kenzie Noel.
There you go. It's the best of the bunch. 25th.
It's kind of crazy though, no?
Yeah, I know I mentioned like their position player side is loaded, and that's not. I haven't seen these kids play, but they're ranked the number 4 farm system in baseball, which was a huge jump from where they were at a year ago. So who knows? But
maybe MLB.com needs to hire some new graders.
Well,
everybody gets some right and some wrong, sure. But part of it is developing.
It looked like they had made strides. They recognized in 2022 they needed more thump.
Right.
Now, they swung and missed with Josh Bell and Mike Zunino. Those were complete failures of signings. They admitted that. But does this lineup look much different than it did 2 years ago? It really doesn't.
No. The only real power they have is Ramirez and Naylor. That's it. Once again, nobody. I mean, you're now going to go what? This will be I believe, the 13th straight season without an outfielder with 20 home runs. I think Brantley did it in 2012. Was that the last time? Am I too old on that? I know it's Brantley. Let me look up the last time Brantley hit 20 home runs for the Guardians.
I feel like it would be 14 or 15.
Michael Brantley for Cleveland, the last time he hit 20 was 2014. Okay. So it's been this will be the 10th season. 10 seasons in the major leagues. 10. Without having an outfielder hit 20 home runs. Zach, if you told me they didn't have someone with 30, I would have been like, well, that's not good. But 20? That's not a high bar.
I mean, Kwan was their first homegrown outfielder to be an all-star since Manny Ramirez.
Wow.
So this has been an ongoing thing. The issue, you need the talent to be so good that the coaching is almost immaterial. I think Bazana passes that test.
Okay.
I just don't understand. For a team that always has one eye on the present tense and one eye on the future, and again, I don't even know if Manzardo will be a good major leaguer. I think he will.
Yeah.
But how he has just spent almost all of the season at AAA just feels like such a waste, given where he's at, 24 years old, more than 700 at-bats at AAA, and where the team's offense is. George Valera is going to be out of options next year. So you need to learn more about him.
Yeah.
He's got 800 at-bats at AAA. It's just, It just seems inefficient, and I've seen enough of like the light hitting middle infielder to last me a lifetime. And I don't care about defensive positioning. They've
Oh
played
my
guys
God.
out of
Yeah.
position all year.
Yeah.
Daniel Schneemann has been playing center and right field. He's an infielder.
And the idea that you have to coddle Josh Naylor so he can only play first base and not DH is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get to some fan comments and questions, and then we'll
Good
wrap
times,
it up.
good vibes today.
Oh God, yeah. Hey, it could all change by Monday if they have a good weekend. We'll see. You're playing a much worse team. You're at home. Too much torque says, I hate the feeling of when the other team scores one run, it feels like an unsurmountable task for us to get a run to counter. Yeah, that's how it feels right now.
Do you know that their last 15 games, you know how many times they've scored a first inning run?
0. Oh, all right.
One time. Stephen Kwan leadoff home run in Minneapolis
Oh, yeah.
a week and a half ago.
Let's see. D. Yates, I love this team, but if you only get one hit in a game against a team that hits home runs every other at bat, you won't win much. John, no discipline at the plate. Bo Naylor swung at a ball on 3-0 count. We need a new owner. I'm sick and tired of Dolan, 75 years, man. Not that he's been here 75 years. Nikki V, is it true that they keep Manzardo down for the rest of the year? They retain a year of service time? The only way that you retain a year of service time with Manzardo is if you not only kept him down the rest of this year, but like the first 2 months of next year.
Yeah. How long was he up? Like a month?
I think he had like 90 plate appearances, roughly.
Yeah, service time has nothing to do with it. When you get to this point in the calendar, that's not it.
Yeah, no. Let's see. Karen, hi, Bull, hi, Zach. Lane Thomas has 1 run batted in. What is his specialty? Well, his specialty was supposed to be hitting lefties and hitting for power, but he hasn't done any of that.
His last home run was June 20th.
Oof. June 20th. Holy cow. 2 months. John says, our prospects suck. We won't sign a free agent. This is what you get. We're lucky to be in first place. We have the most 4A players I've ever seen. They do have a number of 4A players.
It's funny to me. So much depends on how you get to your final destination. I'm looking at the standings and like they're a game and a half behind the Yankees.
Yeah.
In the American League, no one else is ahead of them.
Yeah.
If you would have told us that in January, everybody would be doing cartwheels and backflips.
Right.
But it's how they've gotten there, and that makes you think that that's how it's going to be moving forward. It's so funny how just the tenor can change so dramatically.
It's frustrating for the diehard fans, especially because they feel like the organization doesn't care enough about winning. That's the bottom line. Like, say what you want about the Yankees. You feel like or the Mets, like it always feels like that's the priority is winning with those teams. And I understand that New York teams are going to be able to spend a lot more than Cleveland, but nobody on the face of the earth can convince me that this payroll can't be $50 million higher. I don't believe it. I won't believe it. And if this ownership truly can't, then they should sell it to an ownership group that can, because there's more than 30 people that can afford to have $150 million payroll in Major League Baseball. I mean, come on.
And what's the excuse going to be next year?
Right.
Is it going to be TV deals or something? Did they even though attendance is up through the roof, is it still not high enough? Like what's the excuse next season to not bolster the payroll and make sure that a stretch like what you've gone through for the last 6 weeks doesn't derail your season in 2025?
Yeah. The fans have more than done their part this year. They've showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And the front office ownership have let them down. All right. Zach, we'll do this again on Monday. Hopefully, again, they're home. They start a long homestand. You're playing Texas, a team who's got a lot of expensive pitchers in AAA right now. I don't think any of them are going to pitch. I don't think we're going to see DeGrom or Scherzer this weekend. But the Rangers have a good roster, but they've had a terrible season. So it's a weekend for the Guardians to get well. But it's hard to have much faith in them right now. But we'll see.
Maybe the home cooking. Yeah, I don't know. That's big homestand.
Yeah.
I feel like we say that every week.
Hopefully a cheerier news on Monday. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for all of you for watching and listening. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. We'll talk to you next time on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.